Hey everyone, welcome to another Fat for Weight Loss video. Today I am discussing with you week 2 of my training for the Ketogenic Marathon. So there's been a few interesting things that happened this week, so make sure you stick around. Let's get started. Alrighty, so I like to start these videos off with just a brief overview of my runs, some of the improvements that I think I made this week, and then maybe some of the improvements I can make next week. So I break all of my runs up into an interval run, a tempo run, and a long run. And the reason why I do this is because the interval run is working a different a different energy system than the long run is. And it's important to work all of those. But there's an interesting thing that I have discovered that we'll get to in a second about the tempo run. So I might be dropping that one. So let's get started. On the interval run, it's always first. I try and do that on a Monday, and that was 5 kilometers in total. So just got back from doing the interval runs. Nailed it. It was 4 minutes 50 every single kilometer for 1.6 Ks. Now I was doing repeats of 1.6 kilometers, and that felt really good. And I was trying to hit about a 5 to 10 minute pace, probably around about, much faster than my marathon pace, especially on the ketogenic diet. And I was definitely going into the anaerobic heart rate zone, or definitely into the threshold there. And it felt really good. I got back from that run feeling very good. So the tempo run was 11.5 kilometers. Now it was only supposed to be 9.5, but I did a few miscalculations and I ended up just running 11.5. And that one felt pretty terrible actually, because I split them up between a 3.5K easy run to start with, so that's basically just a warm up, and then it was a 6.5K tempo run. And that tempo run I was running on my absolute threshold between, not trying to tip over the mark and go into the anaerobic zone, but to just sit in that tempo range. And what I found was that tempo range for me, that speed was a little bit too fast, and because it was too fast, I ended up tapping into a lot of the glycogen stores in my body, and my body wasn't able to create ketones fast enough to be able to keep the blood sugar high in the system. So I ended up feeling very bad after that run, because I'd been running too fast. And also the easy run to start with was too fast as well. It's so easy to run a fast, easy pace at the start of your run. So maybe the easy run should have been shorter. Anyway, the long run this week was 19 kilometers, and that one felt really good. I found this spot where I could sit, and I could sit there for ages. Now, the problem is with doing the ketogenic diet and trying to do a marathon training scheme like this is that you have to slow down. You have to slow down. You have to keep yourself in that aerobic heart rate zone. And if you come out of that aerobic heart rate zone for any longer than 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes, you're going to severely impact the amount of distance that you can actually run, and the amount of time that you feel good throughout that run as well. So I definitely found the sweet spot in that long run. However, it did incorporate a lot of stops, but it was good. I felt pretty good throughout the entire thing. And I really tried to keep it slow, because last week I discussed that I was going too fast in my long run. So I had to really slow it down, and I ended up running like 7 or 7.5 minute kilometers, which is so slow. I've run a half marathon doing 4 minute 45 kilometers, so it's almost double. So it feels really slow, and it incorporates a lot of stops. I did cycle on Tuesday, and I'm probably going to cycle again tomorrow. And I just try and keep them short, under an hour, definitely in the aerobic heart rate zone. And it's good because cycling definitely gives you less impact on your joints, but it gives you that aerobic training. So cycling is very good to supplement with running, and even rowing is good, or swimming, but I don't really have a pool, and I don't have a rowing machine, so cycling is as good as it gets. So the total for this week was 35.5 kilometers, so it was about a 20% increase from last week, which is good. You don't really want to be going any higher than that, especially if you are trying to build up the kilometers. And I definitely think I will be able to add another 10-15% onto that again next week. Now, the biggest takeaways for this week were that the tempo run, as I discussed before, was going too high into the glycogen burning zone. And the problem with that is that I'm not actually training my body to up the intensity in the aerobic heart rate zone. All I'm doing is I'm telling my body that, oh, this is the speed that you should be depleting all of your glycogen. And it goes, well, you don't have much glycogen. What are you doing? And I ended up feeling bad after that run. And what happens when you when you're on the ketogenic diet and you tap into too much of that glycogen, it tells your body to try and refill it as soon as you've got back from the run. So I had this insane craving for carbs, and I ended up caving, unfortunately, on some of those things. So I ended up eating a little bit of potato and a little bit of something else to try and just get my blood sugar back up to a normal level. The idea is that I'm going to be removing the tempo runs from the training because I don't think they help at all. I don't think they help with a long distance marathon, especially on the ketogenic diet. The tempo run for me is not as important as doing a long steady state effort. So I'm going to be focusing more on that. So I'm going to be doing 2 steady state efforts and 1 interval run. Another thing I wanted to showcase is that the importance of electrolytes whilst running is incredibly important. And I have something coming that I'll talk a little bit about in this video a little bit later on. But I have this drink, and basically what it is it's about a half of a lemon that's squeezed, and I squeeze that into some water. So a cup of water, I add a teaspoon of light salt, so that is a mixture of sodium and potassium, and then I also add just some pink Himalayan sea salt as well to that drink. Now, I did that after the long run today, and I felt fantastic after it. The reason why I need to do so much salt at the end of the run is because I don't actually carry any water with me at all. So I have to rely on stopping in at the the bubblers every now and then to try and get some water. But especially on the ketogenic diet, you need lots and lots of salt. So you can't really take a thing of salt with you and take salt and then drink some water. That sort of feels a bit weird. So coming home from the run as a post-workout drink was fantastic. Another great post-workout recovery drink is this stuff called branched chain amino acids. Now, this one also has an electrolyte blend in it, so it also contains magnesium, potassium, sodium chloride, and calcium lactate. So this branched chain amino acid is perfect for that. And branched chain amino acids are important because when you're doing muscle damage to yourself, it's important to be able to replenish that as quickly as possible. And you don't want to have a crazy amount of protein on the ketogenic diet, even if you are trying to, even if you are destroying muscle essentially, which is what you are doing in training. The branched chain amino acids is the perfect way to get that protein very, very quickly, and also in a hydroponic state, so with lots of water. Now, I did experiment with this pre-workout fuel in my interval training. This is it here. And I found it really, really helpful. The main ingredient in there that is very helpful is the beetroot powder. Now, beetroot powder has a lot of nitrates in it, and they're doing lots of studies on nitrates and the ability to essentially open up your blood vessels by using by using beetroot powder. And why that's important on a on a running training program is that you can get more oxygenated blood to the muscles that need it the most quicker. So beetroot is a fantastic way to do that. Now, that pre-workout also contains caffeine, it contains creatine, beta-alanine, L-arginine, and L-carnitine as well, so L-carnitine helps essentially helps your body burn the fat that has been immobilized by the caffeine, and creatine is good as well. Not as important for endurance runners. I've been taking plenty of magnesium, so magnesium has been important, and I've also been taking a supplement to help thyroid issues. Now, it contains mostly tyrosine. Now, tyrosine is effectively a nootropic in most people's cases, but what what tyrosine helps people with thyroid issues or previous thyroid issues is that tyrosine helps your body convert T4 hormones into T3 hormones. And those are important on the ketogenic diet when you're trying to minimize thyroid damage. Now, it also has adrenal health and metabolism support. So it has some activated B vitamins in there, especially, running a long distance and for a long time. So I clocked up 4 hours of training this week. So taking these almost every day has been really beneficial to me. Improvements for next week. Now, I do have a water belt coming. So it's a little belt that goes around your waist and it has 2 water bottles in it. So I should be able to carry some sodium water, so some salty water, and also maybe some sort of intra-workout drink that I can take as well. So that might contain some MCT oil or something along those lines. So that'll be really interesting to experiment with on the long runs. Another thing that I'm going to experiment with, I was listening to the physical performance show that is run by Brad Beer, who runs a physio out of the Gold Coast called Pogo. And he basically interviews all these elite runners. And he interviewed Gwen Jorgensen, who is currently training for the 2020 Olympic marathon. So she's going for gold in the marathon distance there. And she had some really interesting training tips that she discussed with Brad on the podcast that I listened to recently. And one of them that was a really interesting takeaway was journaling. Now, she basically journals in the morning and at nighttime, and she journals not about what she did wrong or about what she did right. She journals about the processes that were important in those situations. So she might have been, she might have had a really hard time trying to run that last 400 meter lap, but she persevered and did it. And so she journals down that I persevered in that last 400 meter effort, and I think that was great that I did that. So it's basically 3 improvements and 3 positives from your day. And I'm going to try and start doing that. So that'll be really interesting to basically reflect on all of this. So this video helps me reflect on a weekly basis, but being able to reflect on a daily basis is really important as well. And also my training has slipped a little bit later during the day. So my partner is away. She is currently working for the Gold Coast Commonwealth Games. And so she's doing a lot of events there, and she's staying down there for the time being. And what happens is that usually she gets home from her normal job at about 5 or 6, and work stops from there. But what I've been doing recently, and as you can probably tell, it's nighttime, but with some artificial lights in here, is that I've been letting my timeline slip. And so I didn't get back from my run today until 10:30. And not only is it hot when you do that, but it also ruins the rest of your day, because not only have you got to figure out where to start from again, but you don't stop working until about 10 or 11 or 12 at night. And it becomes a long day, and especially after a long run, it's important to be able to recover from those sorts of things. So doing them early in the morning and getting them out of the way is something that I'm going to be trialing for the next week or so. And definitely for the entire rest of the marathon training. So I hope you got some really interesting snippets out of this little video that I did for the week 2 summary, and I will see you again either in another Fat for Weight Loss video or in week 3. So listen out for the water belt that's coming, the journaling, and also starting earlier in the morning as my improvements for this coming week. So thank you again for watching. If you've watched all the way to the end, make sure you smash that like button. You must have enjoyed some of it. And if you haven't already subscribed, make sure you subscribe below. I'm going to be basically showing you all the efforts and things that I'm doing in the lead up to the Gold Coast Marathon in 2018. It's in July, start of July, so we'll see you there.